Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 10 out of Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all and y'all rocking with me. For this video, I'm going to be speaking on the time I folded one of my brothers inside of prison. Now, folded is a slang term. Obviously, we do not have bandanas inside of the Florida Department of Corrections. That would be fire if we did, though. But folded is in reference to they're not banging anymore. And there's two ways of going about this. Everyone knows what X'd out is. Oh, he got X'd out. That's more so a violent way of going about it. That's a real punishment, being X'd out to the point that you're either getting cut or getting stabbed or getting killed, etc. When you fold somebody's flag, it isn't as serious, and it happens for different reasons. Not every time we need to fold somebody do we want to waste the resources on wiping them the fuck out completely. And what I mean by that is we may be on the verge of going to war. And if we're about to go to war, we need as many hitters as we have on the compound at that time. We don't want to waste or have any of the homies get locked up or put into confinement or anything like that because we went and poked Jit up and then he told and then now we get hit up in a sweep. And for the bros that's on the compound that don't have gang files, they're not going to be swept up. But the homies that don't have a gang file are going to be left on the compound. And whoever we're about to go to war with, they're going to attack because the numbers are low and now they just wiped us off the compound. So there's different reasons for people getting folded versus X'd out. And I told y'all the story at Appalachia CI when it was me and Goo, and there was a little homie pushing Shine in a different dorm, and he was vouched for. But when it came time for him to, bust his gun, he didn't want to do it. He was acting scary, and he was more or less called down to our dorm. Our dorm was the dorm that I was in, that Goo was in, that a lot of the other homies was in, and a lot of the homies that was putting in that work because it was a high custody dorm. So, we called a little meeting. A lot of the homies done slid down to I-1. And we all went into one cell. And there was probably maybe 10 of us inside of this cell. But it was the little homie pushing Shine that didn't want to go through what he was supposed to. It was the bigger homie that vouched for him. It was me, it was Goo, and it was the other two Shine members on that compound. And then Bebo Brim was also inside of this cell. I've spoke on Bebo, I've spoke on Goo. Y'all know some of the people I'm talking about if you've been rocking with the channel. But more or less, the homie that vouched for the Shine homie got in there with him first. And, beat the dog shit out of him. Then Goo got in there with him. Then I got in there with him. Then the two Shine homies got in there with him. Bebo was a tattoo man. Bebo didn't get in there with him because after we punished him, he could barely even stand up. I mean, it was to the point that, we had him cleaning up the cell. By the time I got in there with him, he was barely standing up to begin with. So he was just really getting punished inside of that cell. I had to wipe the blood off my white forces. And Bebo got in there with the tattoo gun. We put him up against the wall. Took all them tattoos off his body. Every single star that he had, every single thing with a B or anything that could have been perceived as gang related was covered up. Anything else was crossed out. Bebo, he Chico, he Puerto Rican, so he put in puta, bitch, all type of tattoos on this man's body just so it's known that whatever camp, whatever compound he hits, he ain't gonna be repping it, he ain't gonna be false flagging and acting like what happened never happens. And you got people that's going to view it like, oh, that's a sad story. Why would y'all do that? Well, this is the shit that comes with it. When you sign up for something like this, or when you want to walk around on a dangerous-ass compound like Appalachia, proclaiming to be a gang member, but when it's time to pop, you don't want to pop, this is what's going to happen. And it's going to prevent us from being killed, thinking that you're going to ride out with one of us on the rec yard, and when it goes down, you run in with your dick tucked while I'm getting stabbed because you didn't have my back. So this is the punishment, and it could have been much worse, but we didn't want to waste the resources on wetting this kid up. It wasn't necessary to wet this kid up. He got the message with straight hands, and literally the next day he became a fucking Muslim. He had the carpet, he had the kufi on, and he started going to church with the Muslims literally the next day. But who I'm speaking on in this story was one of the homies that was on the other side of the gate at Appalachia. Appalachia's divided in two. You got MN, I-dorm, and confinement on one side. You got O&P on the other. O&P are the lower custody dorms, work the kitchen, etc. They're softer over there. It's not going down like that over there. Versus on the side of the gate that I was on and down the hill, it's higher custody. There's more action popping off. Now, we linked up with these homies. We knew who was in O&P because sometimes we would slide to a wreck that wasn't ours. If we knew O-dorm was going to wreck, we could slide the wreck with them and then bust back and get back in the I-dorm. You're able to sneak into other dorms and get away with certain things if you know how to move. So we met these homies. And the specific one I'm speaking on was about my age, 19, 20, at the time that this happened. And the vibe with them was different from the vibe of the homies that was in M-dorm, N-dorm, I-dorm. They had that shell shock look to them. You know, seen battle before, seen some shit like Bebo. Bebo looked crazier than a motherfucker because he done, cut somebody's head off. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these homies, one of the Shine homies had scars all around his neck from somebody that tried to kill him. They cut him up. Obviously, he survived that. He's been through it. Just a lot of us had been through a lot, and you could tell that the bros that was in these lower custody dorms had not been through it. And it had us somewhat questioning them. We don't want to just send them on a mission to see what they're about because we're not trying to set people up for failure. But if you're in the same dorm as someone that needs to get taken up through there, you should be raising your hand to go and handle that since you have access to that person and you don't really have the reputation. So in prison, especially if you're a gang member and you just came to prison, you should have a fucking burning desire to go and handle whatever needs to be handled. Because this is how you're going to build your reputation. And at the youth offender prisons, there's so much shit to get into. There's so much shit you're already tossed into. You don't ever have to wait. The second you get put into a dorm and you know who your brothers are, you know who the enemy is at the same time. And if you can count your brothers, you can count the enemy. And what are you going to do? You got all these opposite gang members. Everybody's going to war. We'll chew some shit up then. Take off. Show them you bout that shit. Get your stripes up. Wet some. You know what I mean? Just get your razor wet. And adult camp, it wasn't as violent nonstop. But when it shook, it fucking shook. To the point that ambulances were pulling up in the rec yard. Helicopters touching down. Like, people were damn near dying or getting killed at the adult prison. So it was a little bit different because when it went down, it went down. And that's also the reason why you don't just want to send someone on a little dummy mission unless they are a dummy. Because if they're not willing to go all the way, that hesitation can get them killed. And you don't really want that on your conscience. That could have been a good homie. He just wasn't meant to go take dude out. And you sent him to do it, and dude ended up taking him out. So things can turn very bad. I don't know what happened with this kid, if he went to confinement and that's why this happened, but his custody level went up. And when his custody level went up, they took him from the other side of the gate and brought him to ours. They brought him into our world. O&P, they really don't know what it's like living in M and I-dorm until they come over. And they put him in I-dorm and I-1 with me and Goo. Now, off rip, me and Goo were studying this vibe. We're peeping game on how he moves, if he's timid, this, that, and the third. And we kind of have an idea. We weren't sold on it, though, but we had an idea that he might not be living like that. So that same night, me and Goose spoke, and we were like, you know what? We finna test him. We finna make sure he rocking like that. Because if he isn't, we don't want him rocking the banner. We don't want him getting the name off of us. And we also don't want to get into something and be dependent on somebody that can't hold us down, and vice versa. I don't want to put my neck out for you if you won't do the same, because I'm going to get my shit slit. You know what I'm saying? And you're just going to leave me leaking there. So we decided that we're going to test him. And it wasn't even nothing serious. Like, We didn't walk up to him with a knife and, hey, you gotta go stab him. Or we didn't do nothing crazy. We literally just called him into a cell. We did it in a very intimidating manner, though. We picked an empty cell that was upstairs and we brought in a blanket. And when he came into the cell, we put the blanket over the door so nobody could see in. Now, this cell was off to the side so the COs can't see in. And anybody that's in the day room, all they see is a blanket up and they know that there's 3 of us in here. So when we get him in there, Goo tells him to go into the corner of the room by the window. He goes into the corner of the room. We come up out the shirt and Goo more or less tells him like, hey, bro, you got to line it up. So he looking nervous and shit. He's like, alright. So, you know, I step in there to get in there with him first. I'm like, come on, put your hands up, tighten up. He hesitating. He's like, man, hold up, what's up? But Goo already like, we spoke on this beforehand. We weren't just gonna pop off on him because in most cases, a dog in the corner is gonna fight back. So I don't want to strike first. I don't want to start hitting him and then his adrenaline kicks in and then he starts doing something. I want him to put his fucking hands up and step up and start throwing them shits. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about getting hit. I'm supposed to get hit. That's the point of this. Like, we are supposed to hit each other. You know what I mean? And then you're going to get in there with him. And you might get in there with me again. Fuck it. But we're going to get in there and we're going to bump. And we're going to, you know what I'm saying? Peace out, whatever. Eat some food after the fact. So he's like, man, hold up. Man, fuck that. Tighten up. He don't want to bump. So Goo hitting them, you know, with the finesse. Like, I understand though, little bruh. You ain't finna fight. You ain't finna stab. You ain't finna bang. So what you finna pay? You gonna pay to live in here? Like, what's up? Dog broke that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Folded his flag. You done banging. You not repping nothing. I honestly forget what set he was pushing. I don't know if he was supposed to be West Side or some shit, or if he was a Billy because there was literally like 1,000 Billies. I forget what whip he was pushing, but whatever that shit was, that shit crashed and stopped immediately. He got pulled out of the fucking driver's seat and that shit ended right then and there. You ain't pushing no whip no more. You ain't throwing up bees no more. None of that. It's over with. And I don't even think we ever actually extorted Buddy because he never actually got anything. And we shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. But then again, it's prison. When you hungry, you finna eat. It is what it is. You know, we living righteous now because we hustling and we getting money in a legal way. At least I am. And then I try to hold down some of the bros that I was close with inside of prison. But when we was in that fucked up environment, we had a fucked up mentality. And we did what we did. Now the day after Jit get folded, he come outside his cell. And you could just see the persona on him just dropped. He just got a whole new vibe to him. Like, he used to walk around like he had a little ounce of respect, but really, it was the respect of Bloods that he felt respected through. It wasn't that he was respected. It was the gang was respected. So when he came out now, he walked around like a lame. You know what I mean? Like, he sat down with the lames. He started associating with the lames. And by lames, I mean the white boys that was getting extorted, the white boys that was getting fucked, whoever's pussy in the dorm and everyone knows they're pussy. Like, there was a couple other jizzles. You had a Chinese one that was in there that was soft. You had a black jit. He was bugged out. He used to eat grass and shit and pretend like he was crazy. Like, you had a couple other soft people in there too, but they were mostly young and white. That's just how it is. And you know, he just immediately migrated to them and started associating with them almost in the same sense as the other kid that got folded immediately went to the Muslims, and all of a sudden he found Allah and fucking he just went that route. And I think back on these things. I think back on these stories, and I can't say I'm proud to demean somebody, to strip someone of their self-worth, to strip somebody of their own sense of pride. But at the same time, it's like, you wanted a gangbang. You're in prison. This is a different environment. We have to be different in this environment. That's just, it's how it is. And it's very hard to get viewers and to get people that have never experienced this shit to understand it. By no means that I want to, but because of how I was living in there, I felt obligated to seek out who was weak within our circle and get rid of them, whether it's extermination or just denouncing them. You can't bang. Don't even fucking speak to us. Don't look at us. Don't nothing. And it's crazy because I try to adjust in society, and I feel like I can get along with everybody. I don't care. I don't judge people as much in society, and it's taken time for me to do so. It's 2020. I've been out 5 years. I got out in 2015 in July 1st. It's taken time for me to be able to accept people that aren't necessarily like me, because I only wanted to surround myself with people that were like me, that carry guns, that gang bang, that fucking just get into all this negative shit. Versus now I can see that surrounding myself with people like that eliminates any form of progression in any other direction. And what I mean by that is, if I only surround myself with gang members, I'm only progressing as a gang member. I'm not getting better at learning how to make YouTube videos, because I can't learn how to set up a fucking tripod and editing software and mics. I can't hit up one of the homies that's in prison and be like, you know how to edit this video? You know about Adobe Premiere? They're gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? And I reflect on these stories because it tells y'all the savagery inside of prison, but it also gives y'all insight into my mind. And not that I struggle with feeling bad or anything like that, because I don't necessarily feel bad about it. But I have to learn to unlearn and relearn how to socialize with people, how to not prejudge people. Who do I want to associate with? Who do I want to bring into my circle? Who has my back, and what does that mean? Does having my back mean you gotta get a gun and be ready to die with me? Or does having my back mean you're gonna tell me when I'm fucking up? You're gonna tell me what I should be focused on and staying out of the negativity. Everything changes when you're free. And the number one reason that people go back is because everything changes except them. Everything they learned inside of prison, they bring to the street. And they try to apply prison to the street. And the only thing that happens is they end up back into the environment that they know, that they try to bring with them. You come out here trying to live like that, you're going to go right back there. And that's one of the most difficult things about coming home, is readjusting, unlearning, and relearning. We folded those kids, but at the end of the day, they weren't cut out for that lifestyle. With every action, there was a reaction, and hopefully, with the negative that happened to them, whether it was getting their ass whooped and tattooed on and humiliated, or whether it was getting punked like a bitch, getting scared, I hope that there was also a positive reaction in that when they came home, they understood from the realization inside of prison that they are not meant for prison. They are not meant for that lifestyle. And I hope that they were able to come home and adjust the same way I'm trying to adjust. It's all a matter of life lessons. And, you know, I'd rather have life lessons than a life sentence. But, hey, it's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all like y'all rocking with me. Till next time.